Okay, guys, welcome. Very warm welcome to Prateek and Pranav, and of course to the wider FPL community. Thank you so much. Welcome to episode 5 of FPL Bulls and Bears.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you so much for having this done. This is really exciting, man. I mean, I can't believe though that I'm doing it with you for the first time and the first FPL podcast ever that we are doing it now.
Yeah, bro. So,
Man,
so
too good,
thanks,
too good.
thanks so much for joining in, Prateek. And as our viewers would be excited to know that Prateek is the first manager of the month for the 24-25 season, and this is also his first season playing Toons with us, right? So I think. To that extent, I think it has been a phenomenal performance. I mean, just 3 game weeks into the game, and you've already won Manager of the Month. And after that, you're doing well even after, game week 4. Very happy to have Pranav here, man. So you're not part of the Toons League this year, but we hope to
But
have you
I'll be
next
the
year.
I'll be the part next year.
Yeah, that's brilliant, man. So yeah, thank you once again for joining in. Okay, guys, great. Let's dive right in. So to start off with, Prateek, your team is called Planet Prateek 1111, and Pranav's team is called the Incredibles. So can you guys let me know what are your favorite clubs? And yeah, I mean, just tell me a little bit more about your team names, why you chose such team names, and what your favorite clubs are.
So, my Insta ID, my ID has been Planet Pratik for so many years now, right from the time I've had Instagram. So I just added 111 this time because I'm working with 1111 systems. So I've
Yes,
just
yeah.
added 111.
That's his workplace,
Just
guys.
a,
Yeah,
just a lucky number. Maybe the charm would work sometime.
that's
so,
interesting.
uh, so Planet Pratik has always been close. And then favorite club, of course, it's Chelsea. That has been, and this has been right when Chelsea lost to Manu in when Terry missed the penalty kick.
Oh, wow.
When he just slipped, that's where I felt that okay, I think Chelsea deserves a better fan base now. but, then, but then after that, it's of course the Jose Mourinho period that
Yeah.
was epic. I mean, before that, of course, and it has been ups and downs for Chelsea. But yeah, overall happy with the club now, and that's a balance between being a FPL fan and your club, which makes it very difficult to follow a club at the end.
Try doing it as an Arsenal fan, buddy.
I
Until
know.
the last two
I know.
years, it was a nightmare to have FPL
Of
assets
course.
as Arsenal players, and even in general, bro. Even if you didn't have them,
Yeah,
they weren't
totally.
performing. So yeah, great man, great stuff. So what about you, Pranav? What is your favorite club?
So
And
earlier the name of my team was Victoria's Secret.
oh yeah, I think I saw that last year in the other Toons FC. I think I saw that was you, huh? That
Yeah,
was
yeah, it
you.
was me.
Nice.
So
Okay.
that time I think the name was very familiar with other teams also,
Yeah.
and I thought let's give it a change. And after I changed it to the Incredibles, I saw a very good result.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I think if you were in our league right now, I believe you would be second because I saw in the other league, Pratik, I think is topping the other league as well. And I think in that, Pranav is second. So I think both of you guys would have been giving, the other guys a run for their money. So that is great.
Just to add on, even we have some of our groups common.
Yeah.
It's that only. First is Pratik, and I'm
Yeah,
second.
that's. Yeah. I'm sure, man. I mean, you guys have both started off really well, and of course, pretty soon we'll have a look at your teams and how, despite a very very difficult game week for most people in game week 4, you guys have pretty much been smashing, way above average, right? So yeah, we'll get to that. Let me not get ahead of myself. But
And
bro, what's your
my
favorite club? You
favorite,
didn't tell me your favorite club.
my favorite club is United.
Newcastle United, great. That's a great choice, bro.
Manchester United.
No. Newcastle United, bro. Great choice, bro.
Manchester United.
All right, nice man, nice, great. So let's move on, bro. So yeah, I can see that Pranav has been very clearly playing FPL since a very long time, 2009 2010, and I believe his best rank has been 74K in the COVID season. So I think that is pretty impressive rank. About Pratik, I believe there is a a slight
Yeah.
history. So apparently he's also been playing for a very long time, but the reason why the record is only from 2016-17 onwards is something Pratik can share with all of us.
Yeah. So there's a very interesting story before I get down to the previous records. So whenever I and Pranav used to play, right?
Yeah.
So you see the common years that we were playing. So we had a rule between us that nobody would have the same player in our team. So if I'm taking Salah, Pranav would not take Salah.
Really? You guys have
Yeah,
been doing this
so
for the last 10 years?
that was kind of a rule that we had. So that was impacting a lot. So earlier the days when there was Bernardo Silva, there was Aguero, who were constantly scoring goals, right? So one person used to take Aguero and the other person couldn't. I mean, we had set up a rule in between us, and that's where you see the ranks going so high for us. I mean, so
Yeah.
disastrous for us.
Yeah.
That was one of the reasons. But and coming back to the years, I was playing. I mean, of course, with Pranav, or maybe before that, that I recall. And I changed my account. I changed my Gmail address as well. That's where it lost. I was trying to recover it, but couldn't
Oh,
get it. But I think it's way before Pranav that I can recall that I was playing. But then fabulous years. I remember I had Didier Drogba and every one of those in my team that time.
wonderful, man.
So yeah, it was fun.
Super,
It was
super.
absolute fun. Uh, uh,
So,
and
Pratik, can
it
I
was
ask you if you have crossed the rank of 45K earlier in your career? I mean, right now you can say one also, who can stop you, but did you have a better rank than 45K in the past?
I don't think so. I think 45K was my best rank that I have ever had.
Yeah,
But if you see, FPL has completely evolved every year.
no doubt.
Every year, if you see, there are millions that are joining every year, and it's becoming very difficult for everyone to at least get. If you're within the 1 million, you are actually doing well,
No doubt.
right?
No doubt.
Even if it's within 1 million, I think you have a good chances, and your team's pretty fair enough.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I think it's 45K that time was a decent score, and I remember Pranav also had maybe 2020 it was 74. Yeah, the same
Yeah,
year
that was
that.
the best. Yeah, both of you guys have had your best season together.
Correct. And
And
I recall a very interesting story that year was Pranav was ahead of me till the game week 36 or 37. And then I had overtaken him the last game week.
but that's because y'all had the rule, right? No common players. Otherwise, I'm sure,
Yeah.
by
So just to add on this,
Yeah,
so we
Pranav will
had
add on next.
we had a rule earlier that we will be not having the same players, and later we changed it. We changed the rule, and it was like we'll be having three players in our same team. So so it won't so it won't affect our rank also and the points.
Yeah. So you guys are aware of FPL draft, right? That's where within a league, nobody can have a player which someone else has, right? It's like a real
Correct.
life IPL or a real life EPL where you literally pick up a player and then that player is part of your squad, right? No one else can have him. So
Correct.
obviously we cannot play draft in a big league because naturally, right? I mean, there are only so many players, right? You can't have 20
Totally.
teams packed with 11 brilliant players each. So that is why that is the reason why draft is not part of our official leagues. But yeah, I think the way you guys play, with real difficult rules and constraints, I think you guys would enjoy the draft format a lot, right? So yeah, that is great
Yeah.
to know. Great.
So now for the past, I think last season onwards, we have dismissed all our rules. The only rule that we have kept is we do not disclose which transfer that we're doing till the transfer window is closed.
Oh, I suspect I could be wrong, but I suspect that's in general a very good decision, right? That's how you play FPL. You don't tell other people your transfers.
Of course. I mean, that's the only rule that we have kept it. Now, no matter what, even if we have like 8, 9 players same in our team, but then
Yeah.
that's affecting the league formats, right? The mini leagues and the
Yeah,
overall rankings a lot.
yeah, no
So I
doubt.
think we've dismissed that and we've come down pretty well now.
Right.
going forward.
Great. So I think with some of these constraints out of the way, I think both of you can now really focus on your individual FPL philosophies,
Yeah,
right? Which is actually
true.
the next section that we're moving on to.
Wow.
And I really love this section because literally nobody has given me the same answer when I've asked them this question, and I think that is the
Yeah,
beauty of the game, right? In a day and age today where there are so many template teams. There are so many, so-called experts, on Twitter or YouTube who
true.
tell you that this is the team you need to have, and But I'm glad that despite all of this, people have unique philosophies, and in the past, I mean, we are just in episode 4 of our podcast, but I can already say proudly that we've seen at least 6 or 7 completely unique philosophies, right? So with that, I would
Agree,
love to
agree.
learn more from you guys. Just walk me through, right? And of course, philosophy can mean anything, right? Like in terms of what is your opinion on taking hits, what is your
Yeah.
opinion on playing chips early, or what is your philosophy about, especially this year that you can bank 5 transfers. So how does this change your philosophy, right? So it's a completely open session. You can just say whatever you want about how you play the game of FPL, right?
Go ahead. Okay. Pranav, you would want to go ahead. That's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll go ahead. So my philosophy would be don't take -4 hits.
Okay.
So I think Pratik is aware of that. And there have been a season where I've been taking -4 each and every game week, which affected my overall rank also.
Right. But don't you think, like say, okay, let me give you a bouncer. Okay, imagine that you have a double game week coming up. Okay,
No, no, but it's like play
there you
whenever
go.
it's needed. I used
Yeah,
to
there
play
you
it
go.
whenever
See,
I
there
used to
you
play
go.
it every game week.
Every game week's probably a bad idea, but you never know, man. I mean, honestly, if I mean this year the way players have been priced, it is only possible for a large majority of us to only have Salah and Haaland, right? Although now most people have moved on to both of them. But yeah, earlier, I mean, if the pricing was slightly more forgiving, it would be a totally valid strategy that say this game week, if like game week 1, Salah had Ipswich, right? So you captain Salah.
Yeah,
Next game week, Haaland had Ipswich at home, so you take a -4, you sell Salah and you buy Haaland. Then the game week after that, again you have Salah, with Brentford at home. Sorry, Brentford, yeah, Brentford at home. So you have all these, great fixtures. Yeah, I think, like you said, Pranav, I think it really depends. But I think experience will prove what you're saying is right. In general, I have seen people who take -4s. They don't even recover them, right? Forget
that's right.
getting a good upside on top of it.
True.
Especially, I don't understand why people take -4 for defenders and goalkeepers because the best case scenario, right, in most game weeks is a goalkeeper giving you a clean sheet, right? Very rarely are you going to get an assist or something. Sometimes you'll get bonus, sometimes you'll get save points. But if you sell a goalkeeper and you buy another goalkeeper, that -4 somehow it just intuitively feels wrong. But people do it, obviously. I'm not saying they don't do it. Yeah.
Everyone have their own opinion in that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, man. What about you, Pratik? Do you, tend to take hits once in a while, or like what? What's your game on
Okay.
hits?
Now, I had one of these seasons where I did not have a single -4 done.
What? Full
That,
season?
yeah, full season. I
Wow.
had kept this in my mind that I'll not do a single -4. So at the end of every FPL season, you get an email from FPL, if you know, that it gives you the overall statistics of
Right.
how has your team performed, right?
Right.
So that was something that I promised myself that I'll not take a single -4. After which the next season I took, I think, just one -4. Uh, but the calculation how you do is you actually, if you are doing a very good player -4, right? If you are taking it on a really good player, it actually covers it up, right? If you're doing -4, 2 points is where he plays. Let's say another 2 points if he scores or even assists,
Assists,
your
yeah.
points are covered in that -4 lot. On the other hand, a point difference of around 3 or 4 would make a huge impact in these coming years of FPL.
Yeah.
If you see my rank now, I am on 136K in overall,
Right.
right? 136K. Uh, it's just a matter of 3 points. I would have been in the top 50K.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. So yeah, and I think that's great you mentioned that,
Yeah,
Pratik, because over the years I've seen, I think
correct.
even 4 or 5 years ago there used to be like 4 million, 5 million. I've seen 6 million overall
Yeah,
players.
yes,
Today it's crossed 10, right?
correct.
So what you're
It's
saying, with time this is only going to get worse. So every 1 point, Today it might
Yes.
be worth 200k ranks, right? Just as an example. In the future,
Yeah.
1 point might be worth 300, 400k ranks, right? So I think that
Correct.
is where what Pranav says about hits, because then you have to look at it that way also, right? A -4 is then a straight 800k hit in your rank, right? I mean, if you just
Yeah,
look at it that
totally.
way. But yes, I like what you said, Pratik, about it depends who you're buying, and of course, a lot depends on who you're selling, because if you sell a player who goes on to score 12 or 14 points at game week, right, which happens a lot with Watkins or Isaac, those kind of players, right, you get frustrated, you sell them out for a -4, and then you realize next game week, even if that guy scored 10 points, that's actually 14 points that you've lost, right? It's not just the
Correct.
-4. So, and then 14 points multiplied by 200k ranks is like a huge, right? I mean, that's almost in millions that your rank is
Uh,
going to change. But yeah, I think that's
uh,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, you can actually, in a matter of 1 to 2 weeks, you can go from millions to 1,000 ranks. That's the crazy magic. In case your team's doing good, you can actually move from. I mean, uh, just a classic example is my case, right? I was, I think, 14th or 25th in the Toons Cash League in
Yeah.
game
In
week
game week two.
two,
Yeah.
right? And the actual punt happened when it was game week 3 and 4.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
actually changed it,
No
and that
doubt.
too on
Yeah.
a very close margin.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, bro.
Right.
I think your manager of the month was decided entirely by game week 3, because as we discussed even in the last podcast, I don't know if you got a chance to see it. We were
I did, I
discussing that
did, I
about
did.
you, that you were probably not in the top half also, and then from there to
I
pull off MOTM was brilliant, man. I mean, yeah, kudos to you for that. Great. So hits aside, anything else you guys would like to share on your philosophy?
Uh, another philosophy that we need to understand is FPL's strategy of bonus point system has also changed a lot this
Yeah.
year,
Yes.
right? If you see,
Yes.
there's a lot of emphasis put on the defenders,
Yes.
right? Defenders have not just been getting advantage on the passes, but on the goal clearances or any shots on target is also an added point on the BPS, right?
Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah.
your attackers do get these BPS. So, not just putting forward a defender who is on the line, but somebody who's on the attacking front makes a huge difference.
Correct.
Classic example to give you is a Robinson versus a Trent Alexander-Arnold, right?
Right.
You see the difference between these two
Right.
in terms of price,
Yeah.
but the point difference is just 6 points.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a brilliant point that you make there, right? It's ultimately about
So,
going for attacking wing backs. Yeah,
correct. Even though Robinson doesn't keep a clean sheet, but he's managed to give 2 assists, right?
exactly.
So, understanding these key players is very important, of course. And these differentials make a huge difference in your teams, right? In one of the game weeks where Mbomo made a lot of difference there, right? He
Yeah,
scored 2 goals. That's where
yeah,
the green arrows came,
correct.
uh, and it really pulled it up.
Yeah,
And that's why you won.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Correct.
I think that
That's me.
Mbumo move was really good for you. I don't think anyone else in the league had
No
Mbumo
one
at
had
that
it.
point. So
No
yeah, I
one
think
had
that
it.
was a like I love what you said about differentials, right? So I mean, it's always very high risk, high reward, because if Mbumo fails, then what happens is you're the only one with that one player who has failed, right? Nobody else hasn't. But the other way around
Yes.
is brilliant, and I think you can further magnify this. At least you could until a few years ago
Hmm.
with captaincy. Nowadays, it's very
Yes.
hard to magnify differential captaincy. And in fact, last week, if you saw both the panelists, neither had Haaland, right?
Yeah.
And both of
Yes.
them
Yeah.
had differential captains. I think one of them had Watkins, the other one had, I think, Palmer. And they both still ended up doing reasonably well, right? But that is the thing with differential captains, right? Imagine having Palmer as your captain the game week that he gave 3 assists, or
Yeah.
having any one of
Mhm.
these, or
True.
Madueke, right? Nobody had Madueke in their teams. I
Really
don't
had
think anyone has
Madueke.
Madueke even now in our leagues.
No.
But yeah, I mean, I think keeping an eye out for very explosive differentials might be a brilliant way to look at it. But yeah, of course, we never
Absolutely.
know, right? All this is hindsight vision. It's only after
Yeah.
the game week that you can say, oh wow, Mbumo was a great move, or Haaland was a great move, captaincy.
True.
But yeah, great.
True.
So Pranav, any closing thoughts on your philosophy before we
And
move on
I
to the
think
next section? Yeah.
I think the triple captain and the free hit shall be played in the second half of the season.
Right.
It can make an impact into your rank also.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think, I think you make a great
And
point about timing of the chips, right? I think if I may
yeah,
extend your point, it's not just about triple captain and free hit, but also the timing of when you play those chips, right? So A lot of people
And
got
more,
carried away. They played Haaland triple captain in game week 2. Although I doubt you're going to have a better triple captain score the rest of the season, right? It's going to be very difficult to get that
and
hat
just to
trick.
add on,
Yeah.
because more like most of the teams will be knocked out of the particular leagues also,
Yeah.
like EFL leagues, Champions League, Europa.
Yeah.
That
And
that would make
obviously,
a
with
difference.
teams getting knocked out, you start seeing more consistent minutes. So I think what you're saying applies a lot to clubs like Brighton, or especially some of what you would say are not really the elite teams in EPL, but who are I don't want to take names here; it's going to piss some people off. But some of these clubs who are playing Champions League with a slightly thinner squad than you would expect, right? Like we saw the drastic dip in Newcastle last year because
Yeah.
of
Oh yeah.
Aston Villa, for example, right? Once
Aston Villa, exactly.
They are,
game
they
started
are playing
coming,
this year.
yeah, they're playing this year, right? So and of course you can really start seeing these this start affecting their defenders, their attackers as well, because attackers obviously because of rotation and defenders more because of injuries, fatigue, and all those things, right? You don't want to be defending for 90 minutes on a Thursday night and then on Saturday play a Manchester City or a Liverpool, right? I mean that
Correct.
is just terrible. But yeah. Great guys. I think it was pretty insightful. I think you guys do have pretty staunch ideas in terms of how you guys want to play your FPL philosophy. So that's great. So
Absolutely.
with that said, why don't we take a look at your teams, right? Because put your money where
Oh,
your mouth is, right? Your teams should show that your philosophy is being followed. Obviously, Pratik, you've got Mbumo right there, who is really sticking out. And Pranav, very interesting to see that you have guys like Dallo, Bernardo, and even Kulusevski, right? I see him on your bench there. And since you're not part of our league, so I've not been following your team as closely as maybe I've followed Pratik or some of the others. So if you don't mind, bro, can you walk me through? You got a first of all, you got a fantastic score, right? You got 60 points last week, which was tremendous. I played a wild card and I got 36, right? So you can imagine what
yeah,
an
yeah.
outstanding score you've got. And
Hmm.
so, why don't you walk me through some of your differentials, right? Why do you have a Dallo in there? Why do you have a Bernardo in there? Why do you have a Kulusevski? These are three guys that have really got my attention. Yeah,
So first of all, like last week only, I was discussing with Pratik, like why should I have Dalot in the team?
yeah,
And I had a very strong intuition that they might have a clean sheet. But luckily, he also produced an assist.
assist, yeah.
That to 94th minute or 93rd minute.
Yeah, and
Correct.
obviously that gives him the bonus also, right? Because you get six for
That's right.
the 90 minutes and clean sheet, and then three for the assist, and then three more for the. Did he get three bonus? 79.
I think he
Oh, he
got
got
two.
two. He got two. Yeah,
Two.
yeah. But
We
yeah,
got two for the
that's
bonus.
still
Onana
phenomenal.
got three.
Onana got three. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. How could I forget that? Yeah. So man,
And
I also have Alexander Arnold in my team, so I completely understand why you have him there. I had Guardiol until my wild card. I think as I don't want to spoil this for the viewers, but we'll come to Bears, Bulls and Bears segment where our panelists will talk more about Guardiol. So let's hold that as suspense for now. But what about Bernardo, bro? How come Bernardo Silva's in your team?
Bernard. So, so earlier, like the first three game weeks, he gave me a very good points. But later, Pep's rotation,
Yeah, no one
it
survives that,
affected
man. No one survives
it
that.
affected my this week's score also.
Right.
Bernardo came in, I think, on 50th minute or 46th minute.
Oh yeah, man, those are the most painful ones, right? Pre 60-minute subs are the worst because then you don't even get that one default point which you believe is your birthright, right? When you field a player over there, 2 points he has to give me, bro. No matter what happens, 2 points you have to give me if you're in my team.
I
Yeah.
I expect at least three,
Oh,
two
fair
plus a
enough.
clean sheet.
From a midfielder, you're absolutely right to expect that. But yeah, great.
And the
So
same thing happened with Jota. He got subbed off at the 45th minute only.
yeah. So yeah, exactly, man. I think Jota was part of my team as well before the wild card, and after I, got a sense that he's going to play midweek more often, or some of those minutes risks might be there. So I pretty much shipped him out. I think I played it relatively safe with my wild card, but in hindsight, doesn't look that way, right? 36 points not a safe score. It's a terrible score, right? So, man, I have one last question on your team before I move on to our manager of the month. But how come Kulusevski is in your team, bro? This is a big stunner for me.
So so I've been following Tottenham preseason also,
Okay,
and Kulusevski was the man who used to score and give assist also.
right.
So I thought, and I think Solanke got injured,
Yeah,
which reaches chances in the starting 11.
So your decision depended on the Solanke injury. Got it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think I
right.
think that makes a lot of sense. And neither of you have played your wild card, right? This season.
No, no, no.
No,
Yeah,
no.
no, no. Then
So
then I
the
think
no
it's
chips moved.
no, no. Then I think it's
No chips
tremendous
used.
that you had Havertz, that you already have Havertz in there. I think that's a great call. And Madueke, I bet you got him after his hat trick, right? And not before that, right?
Obviously. Yes.
Yeah. Otherwise, next year I wouldn't invite you to our league. If somebody has Madueke before the hat trick, that means they are Nostradamus, and we don't want cheaters in our league. We don't want people who have outlandish hat trick that was, man. I mean, Madueke scoring a hat trick. I'm
Crazy.
sure Pratik would have been happy to watch it, but yeah, it was very frustrating
Yeah.
for us Nkunku owners, right? Those were Nkunku's
Nkunku
goals. Those were
was
Nkunku's goals, and you have to admit it. Yeah, but anyways, great.
yeah, I
So
agree.
moving on to Pratik, you actually did even better than your brother, right? I mean, your brother scored a phenomenal score, but how on earth did you get 66 last week, man? You got
Okay, let me
Gabriel in
ask
there.
you a question, Jay.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just scrolling to your team. How did you manage to squeeze in Salah and Haaland at the same time and have Alexander Arnold
Yeah.
there? So high high valued midfielder and a defender and a forward plus a really good midfield range there, right?
Yeah.
If you see
So,
how
bro,
why Mitoma?
yeah, bro.
Why
So,
Mitoma?
so bro, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. So, yeah, here's the thing. So, this is actually part of my FPL philosophy that I really believe that across the four levels that you have in your team, right? I mean, okay,
Correct.
you can ignore goalkeeper, but if you look at the
Yeah.
other three levels, defenders, midfielders, and strikers, I
Right.
really believe you should have one player in each of these three positions who's a bank.
True.
So what I
Yeah.
mean by bank is not the money in the bank wala bank. What I mean is
Yes.
actual bank on the ground. Okay, and unfortunately that's why I'm so pissed off with Haaland's pricing being so far away from the rest. That
Yeah.
obviously you cannot use Haaland as a bank. That's ridiculous, right? You sell Haaland, you are going to be bankrupt. You're not going to don't use
Right.
Haaland as a bank, otherwise you'll be bankrupt. So what you really want
True.
to do is for instance, if I see that in midfield, suddenly some brilliant player starts emerging, right? It could be
Yeah.
someone like Rogers or even Emil Smith. I'm not talking about price. I'm talking about performance. Like
I'm
suddenly,
talking
if
about
Cole Palmer
performance.
goes
Okay.
ballistic, right, which we know he's very much capable of, which he has shown us multiple times last year. So if suddenly I notice that Cole Palmer is going ballistic, the last thing I want to do is to sell a Trent Alexander-Arnold, then put that money into a Rogers or an Emil Smith Rowe. Or last thing I want to do is sell off a player like Saka just because he's the closest in price to Palmer, right? So
Mm-hmm.
my philosophy is I should definitely have one of, if not the most expensive midfielder, then I should have obviously the most expensive striker, and same thing for Trent, right? So what you mentioned earlier about Robinson and Trent, I really like that analogy because both of them are attacking, defenders. Both of them are likely to give you assists. Of course,
True.
Trent has the slightly higher chance of giving you clean sheets, right?
Yeah.
Because Fulham also had great fixtures in the past, and still they didn't keep clean sheets. So my philosophy is I can very easily switch from Trent to Robinson at bat of an eye, and I can suddenly use that 3 million to upgrade somebody, right? So that
Okay.
is why I'm able. So it's not really a feature. It's a bug that my team has Salah and Haaland and Trent, right? Because I've covered all three to that extent that tomorrow if I have to firefight, I can do it without taking a hit. So, but yeah,
Agreed.
but guys, don't take my advice. Clearly, you guys are doing better than me. But yeah, that is just
Why
my thought
Lewis?
process. Yeah.
Okay. Why Lewis? Why Lewis?
So, bro, I could not afford
Okay.
Guardiola. No, your earlier
Mm-hmm.
question is my answer to this question, right? Because if I did not have either one of Haaland and Salah, definitely I would upgrade to Guardiola. We will talk more about Guardiola in Bears and Bulls simply because he's one of the most transferred out
Correct.
players. But I no
Okay.
no, I am very bullish on Guardiola more than Rico
Okay.
Lewis. For me, Rico
Yeah.
Lewis is just as some kind of coverage for Guardiola because I don't want guys like you who have Guardiola or good City
Mm-hmm.
defense. I want at least
Right.
that random chance of getting a clean sheet, or at least if Guardiola gives you 15 points, I want at least six, right? So some kind of
True.
coverage I want. So that is the only
Yeah.
reason why I have Rico Lewis. I'm not saying he's better than Guardiola. In fact, I had
Absolutely.
Guardiola pre wildcard, right? Yeah.
Correct. Okay. Great. Okay, coming down to 66, the number that I got,
Yeah, man. Crazy stuff.
I know that Arsenal was going to do some magic in versus Tottenham, who has a weak defense a little. Uh, Fortunately, Gabriel's header was a magic there with Saka's assist,
Yes.
making it 215 plus 7 points overall on the score. And
Yeah,
of
bro.
course, others were just a single digit numbers that you see.
Yes.
Haaland, of course, was the favorite captains, but I remember that Haaland's uh,
Very
play was
close
going to be
family friend, yeah.
doubtful.
A very close
He was
family
going
friend.
to be doubtful.
Yeah.
I was going to take a punt until I knew that he's definitely going to start. If not Haaland, I was going to keep the captain as either Saka or Eze there.
Yeah.
I was going to go with Isaac as well. Maybe just a punt if Haaland is not playing. So
Right. Right.
if you see the strategy behind every game week, this game week, now game week 5 is going to be a little tough for almost every manager for who has Haaland and Salah. Of
True.
course, for Salah owners, it's very easy, but only for Haaland owners like me, it's going to be a little tough because the captain's difference is going to it's going to change a little
No doubt.
from now on,
I agree.
right?
I agree. I think Salah's running into some brilliant fixtures pretty soon, and I think that
Salah,
was pretty much So
that,
generally, when the season starts, right, I look at the first 4 game weeks. Why? Because the app shows that very easily, right? You can see who the
exactly.
player is playing, and then you scroll all the way to the right, you see the next 3 fixtures, right? So I'm very lazy that way, and I know at the start of the season, no matter how much jing bang you do, no matter how much rocket science analytics you do, everyone knows by the time you hit game week 3 or 4, you're itching to play the wild card. And this
Yeah,
season was no different for me, especially when Haaland was a doubt because he lost a close family friend. At that point, I
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
have Salah, right? So it's all butterfly effect, man. All one thing led to another, led to wild card, led to me not captaining Haaland, went for Salah instead. So yeah, disaster stroke all around there. But yeah, great. I
But
think
I
yeah,
definitely feel Salah's gonna blast this week.
you never
I
know, man.
definitely
Yeah.
feel Salah owners are gonna have a party this week. I'm telling you.
I mean, yeah, we shall see, bro. We shall see. Deadlines tomorrow. I am not too confident right now, to be fair, because now that the cat is out of the bag, everyone, I would say roughly half the players played wildcard, right? So now they already know what the other half has done, so that's already a big advantage for guys like you, right, who haven't played the wildcard, because not only did that get you a better lead, because I'm sure many, if not, most of them would have definitely captained Salah if they had him last week, especially with the doubt
Mhm.
on Haaland, right? So I think you guys have a brilliant advantage in understanding what players others have already picked, right? So there might be some players you were not even considering, but when you see not one, not two, but 10 people have gotten an XYZ, so that gets your
Correct.
brain thinking: Am I missing something? Is there a fixture? Is someone else injured in their team because of which this guy's going to start more? So all
Yeah.
these things start coming up a lot, right? Like for example, at Leicester, if I knew for a fact Daka is out for long, or if I knew that Vardy is pretty much going to be nailed at 5.5, I think he's still I would still say he's the best striker in the game at 5.5. I would put him
Yeah.
above Joao
100%.
Pedro. He's proving it, man. That man is like inching closer to 40, but man, he's like young legs, young heart. Yeah, so Vardy's Vardy, right?
Totally.
So
Totally
man,
agreed.
I completely get it. Then I think with Gabriel, Saka, and the Haaland captaincy, I think that really cruised you to a great score. And I think kudos
Yeah.
to you for that, Pratik. And I hope you continue to have a great rest of the season, right? So
Thank you.
guys, with that, I just wanted to ask you. Of course, you don't have to give me a very clear answer here because at least Pratik is part of our league. Pranav can of course be very honest here, but what are some of the potential transfers you guys are considering, right? Doesn't have to be a concrete answer, but yeah, something that you are considering. Someone you want to buy, someone you want to sell. Yeah, just let it go. What do you want to say about that?
Uh, yeah.
You go first.
I I'm completely open about it, Jay. It's not that even if it's a cash league, it doesn't really matter. That's fine. For me, Isaac definitely has to go this
Okay,
week. I have 2 free transfers this week, so I did a rollover in the last week, so I still have 2 transfers with me.
I see.
I'll definitely try removing Isaac and maybe getting in some of these strikers. I'm still confused. In between either Vardy or maybe a Dominic Calvert-Lewin or maybe a Watkins that I can definitely try for.
So very strong candidates right there. Yeah, but yeah, I'm
Correct.
sure that's a tough decision to make, and yeah, it's not
Yeah,
something.
yeah. So still looking at Watkins, I know did come out in the Champions League game, but though the coach says that he's fine, you may never know. There's Duran as well. That's also
Exactly.
quite in. He's also getting in. I mean, many people are buying him, considering Watkins' injury. But
Yeah,
uh,
sure.
transfers in for me, people just take it as a sentimental that if something's happened in the Champions League, immediately get him out or before the people do not realize there's a Champions League. So my transfers every season for this season has been just 5 to 10 minutes before the deadline.
Yeah, and I understand that philosophy, man. I completely. So I personally don't do it that way. I wait till the last day of the deadline, and that morning I
Right.
make my transfers because I know
Okay.
what you mean, and that has been very nerve wracking for me in the past. Where 5 minutes before the deadline, you get so confused, you tend to make mistakes. Another problem is sometimes you get the server crash, server overload. So we have a
Exactly.
few people in our league also who have made a transfer, have taken a screenshot, but when the game refreshes, they realize that that screenshot was there on their phone, but it had not synced with the server. So, yeah, I mean, I've heard horror stories, and that is something I
I
don't
know.
want to, fall. But I completely get where you're coming from. 5 minutes before the deadline is probably the closest you're going to get to getting any real-time information, right? Whether someone's
True.
picked up an injury in training, or someone has not traveled with their team, or somebody has
Yes.
has passed a late fitness test, right? Whatever. I mean, these I won't call them leaks because they're 1.5 hour before the actual kickoff of the first game, but uh, I would, more than leaks, I would say the intelligence, right, which exists in the field.
Correct.
You're going to get all
Yeah.
of it only 5 to 7 minutes before the deadline. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty
Correct.
risky there. But great, Pratik, thanks for sharing that. So probably you're looking at moving on Isaac, probably, not sure
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
that. For some of the likes of Vardy or Watkins, or possibly a
Yeah.
striker is the area where you want to reinforce. I guess you
Correct.
already have a very decent midfield. Your defense is impeccable, right? There is nothing wrong over there.
Yeah.
Pranav, what about you, man? I think your defense also looks pretty strong. I would say it's very expensive, also, your defense, because you have a 5.5 million goalkeeper as well. I think your front line is also pretty stacked, right? So I think it's your midfield where you have made some very risky and bold moves.
I
So
know.
what is your transfer plan there, bro? Are you going to hold, or going to make
No, no,
hit
no.
the trigger
I'm
there?
going to do this. I am going to do the same transfer.
I see.
So Isaac will be out, and I'll be eyeing for Mateta or Dominic Calvert-Lewin,
Yeah, I
or
think
maybe Welbeck
DCL.
also.
Yeah, I think Pratik also mentioned DCL. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Yeah,
So
but
you see, Jay, that's where the fight begins. Okay, now we are okay. You're also buying the same player now. Okay, I'm also buying the same player now. But now we have got over it now.
yeah,
Or
But
maybe
yeah,
Welbeck also.
yeah,
yeah, yeah. No, but
Even Welbeck has been a starter this season.
yeah. So you should always buy Welbeck before he plays United, right? He has a habit of destroying his
He,
ex-employer. He does it every single
he
time.
yeah.
scored. He scored. That match
He's a
is done.
legend, yeah. He's a legend, yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
True,
no, I know.
true.
That's why I'm saying that, right? He's done it fast. So, in
I
fact, we have
remember.
another
Yeah.
football group where when Welbeck scores against United, people have a race to say Welbeck scores against United again. So we have a race to say that. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
great, great stuff, man.
If not Isaac, then I will definitely I'll sell Bernardo Silva.
Yeah, because I was really
Bernardo has
wondering,
to go.
he's not as attacking anymore, right? In Pep's system, like what I think you were talking about the Aguero years, right? The golden years of FPL
No,
for at
but
least the old timers. But yeah,
he will be out because Gundogan is back.
yeah, of course, that is there. And anyway, in general, I've noticed, Bernardo has never been one of the more explosive players, right? He fits well in Pep's system, gets good minutes. So typically, there is one concept, right? A player who's really great in real life, who tends to assist the assister, right? The person who
Yeah,
plays
that's
that second last pass so that the assister can play a brilliant pass to the final guy who scores. So these players in reality are really greatly appreciated, right? But in FPL, unfortunately, they don't get
that's right.
recognized as much. Maybe now with the bonus point tweak, like what Pratik was saying, right? For every interception made, for every key pass made, hopefully they'll do justice to the likes of Bernardo Silva, Declan Rice, Onana, right? Aston Villa's Onana. Some of the CDM players, right? They should start doing a little more justice to these guys. They don't deserve to be 4 and 4.5 and 5.5 and all that stuff, right? I mean, they definitely deserve to be 6 million plus. But yeah, bro, I think so. That is great. I completely align with you on either Bernardo or Isaac, because honestly, I wouldn't touch anything else in your team. Haaland, Havertz, Diego. I think Madueke also, like, after a hat trick, he's not going to lose his place. Your defense is incredible, man. I think Aston Villa are definitely a very good defensive team of late. And I think Digne is always the kind of guy who's going to give you 4 points or 14 points, right? 4 points when he doesn't get a clean sheet, gives you an assist, and 14 points when he gets a clean sheet and gives you an assist, and something a little bit more, right? So yeah,
And
great
also
stuff.
bonus.
Yeah, 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 and bonus, yeah, obviously, man. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So, guys, with that, let's move on to what our podcast is really named after. So, yeah,
Yeah.
with this, Interesting insight from you guys about your teams and transfers. Yeah, we move on to this. So, guys, quick recap for those of you who might be watching this for the first few times. We are essentially going to take the top five most transferred in players. That is Watkins, Luis Diaz, Vardy, Haaland, and Smith Rowe. And we're also going to take the top five most transferred out players, right? And this is, of course, not in our league. This is global. So if you look at the global stats as of today, we have Isaac, João Pedro, Guardiol, Visa, and Saka, who are amongst the most five transferred out players, right? So if we move on to the next one, we will see that essentially the expert panel over here, both the Girmay brothers today, they are going to walk us through where they believe these 10 players should lie, right? So typically the logic is simple. In the right half, so the two quadrants that you see called raging bulls and traps, these are the players who are going to be the most transferred in this week. But based on the panel's analysis about whether they should be considered as bulls or traps, we're going to classify them that way. And in terms of the most transferred out players, also, right? Sometimes it does happen that the hive mind or the hive brain, the masses in FPL start transferring out a player, but sometimes that player can actually be really good and actually worth buying, right? So those are the players we are going to classify as punts because there was a little bit of confusion about what punts really are. And finally, flops are those players who unanimously people are transferring out, and even the panel believes that okay, here are guys you certainly shouldn't be buying them at this stage, right? So, without further ado, I'd like to bring up the first player who is the most transferred in player this game week. That is Watkins. So, can we please have Watkins presented on the grid? Yeah, there you go. So, I think Pratik and Pranav have both said Watkins is a raging bull, and I leave it to them to share any other comments that they would want to about Watkins.
Go ahead, Pranav.
I think Watkins is a raging bull only because of the fixtures what he's going to have, and he's a goal scorer also for the team.
Yeah, so I mean, no debate there, right? There is no
Yeah,
argument for putting him anywhere
he's
else, right?
the where I can say he's only the one guy who you see everywhere for the goal scorer also and for the assist also.
Yeah, he's a complete attacking machine there for Villa, no doubt.
Right. No doubt. The fixtures for Watkins are very favorable
Yeah,
going forward. But considering the minutes, it's a little risky if you see it's 61, 64, 60, 83. And he also picked up a minor injury in the Champions League. So the minutes is a concern for Watkins for me. But definitely, whenever he's on the field, he's explosive. He gets
yeah,
those assists,
yeah,
he gets those returns as well. Playing against Wolves and Ipswich, it's going to be favorable
yeah,
for
yeah.
everyone.
No
And
doubt, no
people,
doubt. Yeah.
and the reason it's coming in the most transferred in because as soon as he got those 13 points against Everton, people immediately started buying him, not considering the Champions League, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, of course. I'm not saying I never believe that the most transferred in or most transferred out players are in general
It's
accurate. So ideally, we should actually look at what the top 10k or the top 50k players are doing, right? If only
true.
FPL, of course, if they publish that data, then the rest of the hive mind would follow. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
That,
yeah.
And just to add on, Watkins last year Watkins scored like against each and every top teams.
So, dude, he scored, I think, almost as much as Haaland, right, last year, if not more. Because
Yeah,
Haaland did miss a few games towards the end. And Watkins was just sublime last year, man. He was like peak
yeah.
Aguero for a large part of the season. Hat trick after hat trick, yeah. But I think
Yeah,
let's not spend more time on Watkins. I don't think
true.
anybody
Let's
disagrees
move.
with this.
Yeah.
So we pulled up Isaac now, and since he's the most transferred out player, he's on the left half of your screen. Interesting comments here. I don't know what the panel really feels about him, whether he's a flop or a punt. Over to you guys.
for me he's a flop only. I am definitely subbing out.
Newcastle this year has been very tricky in terms of their defense and the mid part, right? Isaac is not getting these chances in scoring, and at a 8.4, not getting those returns that one should get, right? After you spend 8.4 on a forward where you have a very weak mid, you have a very weak forward in terms of converting them into a goal, right? Even though their fixtures not very great, Fulham away, Man City as well. They play Man City, they play Chelsea, they play Arsenal. Uh, that's why I think it's Newcastle is a little disappointing this year for me.
I think that's a
Bad
very
rotation.
fair call out. Yeah, yeah. So Pranav, Luis Diaz, do you think why did you say he's a trap?
For me, I think he's a trap because the last match which I saw of Liverpool, I think Gakpo made a like major impact to the attacking um, part as compared to Luis Diaz. So I think he's a trap this season because even Gakpo is there, Nunez is there to replace him.
So according
That
to you, you're saying that he's a great player, but it's because of his minutes that you would probably consider him a trap, right?
yeah, minutes
Yeah, okay,
and also points. I think
yeah.
if I think Diaz and Jota have the same points or a difference of 2 3 points.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I thought Jota was still quite behind Diaz, is what I thought over the last couple of game weeks, but I could be wrong. Yeah, probably Jota had a brilliant start to the season, right? He
Yeah,
scored
that's
in
right.
the opening couple of games. Yeah, that's why I guess. Yeah, the points tally there. Yeah. So Pratik, do
So
you
that's the
have a different opinion on Luis Diaz?
I have a different opinion on Luis Diaz. Till now, Jota has been there in the squad. He is preferred for the Champions League, I feel. Uh, as per the manager, you see, he did start the Champions League, I believe, right? He did start the Champions League, right? Even though he was called off, Luis Diaz was, taken in after 68 minutes after Gakpo came in. For me, Luis Diaz makes a lot of impact on the other side, and Salah does a lot of impact. If you see the analysis for both of them, uh, they they do bring in similar points and the minutes played as well till now. I think Luis Diaz is on 286 and Jota is on 283. The minutes number of minutes that they've played. Uh, Jota's minutes are gonna reduce a little, considering they have the newcomers, Cheese as well, and Cheese, yeah, and a lot of people to also fill up those spots. But interesting to see Liverpool's the next season. I mean, this season, how they take it forward. How are they gonna shuffle, right?
Yeah,
So that I feel Luis Diaz would be very constant for the Premier League. He's given results. He's given 14. He's given 15 points in the Premier Leagues, right?
yeah.
Uh, where Jota is more preferred for a Champions League, I feel. But of
Interesting.
course,
Interesting.
no banger for Salah there. Salah definitely stays. But I like Luis Diaz as compared to Jota
Yeah,
at this moment.
fair enough, I think, Pratik. And, kind of if you go by the eye test, I think there also Luis Diaz always looks very, very dangerous when he has the ball at his feet. And he just looks like the kind of guy who's going to convert a very low XG shot into a
Hmm.
goal, right? So, I mean, there are some players who just have a knack of doing that. So, yeah, I think we shall wait and see about this one. Great.
Right.
So moving on to Pedro, was one of the most transferred in players last game week, which explains why he's one of the most transferred out players this week because he didn't play a single minute, and I believe he's still yellow flagged in the app. So in the FPL app. So we don't know if he's really going to start or what's going on there. Both of you, I believe, are still a little bullish on him, right? You all. Is it something to do with his price, or you all genuinely believe he's going to be good value in the upcoming couple of game weeks, right? Assuming he
Yeah, I think
starts. Yeah.
yeah, he'd be a good value. He was rested in the last game. I think for Nottingham, he'll definitely start, I believe, considering the
Wasn't
kind
he
of fixtures that
flagged?
they have
I
going
think
forward. Yeah,
I'm just gonna check whether he was flagged. I remember seeing
yeah,
him with a slight I think yellow or an orange, right?
correct. He he
Could
he
be
has
wrong.
a
He's on yellow.
Yeah,
yeah,
he's on yellow. He's got a
he's on
75%
yellow.
chance. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but I
yeah.
think he should start. And but what if you have somebody at a 5.7 and who's delivering on penalties and on also on the forward, right? So
Yeah, man,
I
yeah,
think
for
he
sure.
stays, right?
For sure, man.
Somebody who's on the penalties definitely stays there,
Yeah, for sure about that. Yeah, yeah.
right?
I have the same opinion, and I'm shocked to see João Pedro transferred out.
Yeah, that's a shocker for me
But
as well.
it's not right when
Just
you look
because
at 10 million people who see that okay, I've gotten a player, he doesn't start, boom, he's out. He's out of
people
the team. He's
immediately go out.
out
Yeah,
of
Impatient
coaches.
managers.
Yeah, he's out of the coach's favor. He's probably injured. He's probably going to Saudi Arabia. People come up with all sorts of theories, right? When they transfer
yeah.
people out. But
And
yeah,
the reason he didn't start because he did play a game for Brazil, right,
just
in
prior
the
to that,
international,
yes,
right?
yes,
So that was one of the reasons that he didn't start, which is fair enough. I did have concerns over the minutes that he
yeah.
would definitely have, but yeah, that was expected.
So,
That was
so we keep
expected.
talking so much about this availability of information and all these content creators now, right? So there was one guy who actually tracked Joao
I did
Pedro's
see that. Oh
private
wow,
flight. Did you see
that
that?
was
Oh
Right.
yeah,
amazing.
I shared that on the group with you guys too, right?
Yeah, yeah, that
This
was
guy,
amazing. Yeah,
he was actually tracking his flight. He's taking a chartered flight.
right.
If the match is like on day X and this guy's here at X minus two, so he's probably going
True.
to play. So yeah, some people can be really crazy about it, and I don't think without
Crazy,
that
crazy.
you can get a top top 10 or top 20 rank. In fact, I
I
should say
know.
even top 10K, top 20K, right? You don't get it without a little bit of madness in
That's
your system.
crazy
So,
madness that people can do. I know, I know.
yeah. Okay, moving on to the legend of FPL, right? Jamie Vardy, the absolute myth, the absolute legend of this game, the man who never gets old. And I think both
I
of you
know.
guys were pretty adamant that he should be in a bowl, right? I was actually thinking he should probably be a trap, but you guys were pretty clear that he should be a bull. And what is your logic behind it?
Vardy, look at the fixtures that he has. I mean, complete green till game week 15, right? Look at they don't play Champions League. I mean, nothing is that's gonna stop Vardy. I think he's on penalties as well, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
In the absence of in the absence
Very
of that.
similar to Jao Pedro on a
Yeah,
5.7 that you have, right? You get a very good deal at 5.7
yeah,
along with Jao Pedro. I feel, of course, there's a bit of Hazel, a bit of shaky Leicester defense and the mid,
true.
but Vardy doesn't disappoint.
Yeah,
Vardy will not disappoint, and now that they've got a chance to prove themselves, we'll definitely try and push these teams
sure.
a lot, a lot.
I get where you're coming from. Yeah, and I would agree. It's just that I would personally hesitate to buy Vardy right away because partly because of what you said, right? He's got a good long run of green fixtures, and we know from before Leicester got relegated, we know from even before that Vardy has never been one to shy away from a tough fixture, right? Be it Arsenal. I remember there's a mini league in which one of my rivals, he actually captained Vardy, triple captained Vardy against a single game week against Arsenal, right? And he still ended up getting 20, I think, what, with triple captain it was 32 points, right? 33 points because Vardy scored 11 even in that game. So, yeah, Vardy's never been one to shy away from a tough match. And yeah, I
But
think
yeah,
it's going to
but
take
for me,
a little bit of courage. Yeah.
he stays in that thin line of traps as well. He's
Exactly.
definitely
There
he
you
stays in
go.
that very fine line of being a trap,
There you go. There you
considering
go.
it's Leicester.
There you go. There you go. And that is exactly why, I'm not going to pull the trigger on Vardy just yet. But yeah, I think
Yeah,
definitely one
yeah,
to watch
you've got
out
to
for.
wait. You've got to wait.
And like you said, right, he's more of a long term hold, right? I mean, if you buy him, you should not be selling him for a Jao Pedro 2 game weeks later. That's
Correct.
going to be
Maybe you can definitely buy him after game week 6. Wait for the Arsenal game to get over.
exactly.
Then you have a Bournemouth, then you have a Southampton, you have a Nottingham, you have a Ipswich.
Yeah.
So
Although,
you can stay there,
although I
right?
wouldn't be surprised if he scored a brace against Arsenal and then blanked for 3, 4 games after that. That is just how FPL is. And the fact that the panel is so bullish on him probably means that is going to happen. So yeah, we shall find out anyways.
And that guy's a monster. He can score
Yeah,
anywhere he wants,
he can, he can.
anytime he wants.
Right.
He's a starter. He's a super sub,
Yeah, yeah,
etc.
absolutely, no doubt about it. So I think the panel is pretty much bullish on Vardy with a little bit of caution, right? It's like a mutual fund, right? It is subject to market risks, but yeah. So
True.
moving on to Guardiola, right? I purposely didn't speak much about him during the podcast because I knew the panel is going to have some really interesting things to say about Guardiola. So over to you guys. I'm not going to interrupt here.
I have the player in my team, so I'll hold with him. Let's see in the upcoming fixtures. I I know he's going to start this game week
You
because it's
know, you
Arsenal.
think because I think even he doesn't know. I think only Pep
No,
knows. Even Guardiola doesn't know. I
no,
think.
he will play.
Okay. What about you,
Pep,
Pratik? Do you agree with him being a good hold or a punt?
Let me just pull up Guardiola. Give me a minute. Okay.
Mr.
With a
Stats?
6, yeah, with a 6, I think Guardiola's a definite buy after game week 5 or 6. Maybe hold on to him for these fixtures as against Arsenal and Newcastle.
Right.
He's a good buy, no doubt. he's there in the squad. He should stay in the squad for this season. He's performed really well.
Right.
His minutes are good. For the Brentford, it went down a little, but that's fine.
No
But
doubt.
he
No doubt.
definitely stays till the long term until the 28, 29 game weeks. Yeah, he
Sure.
stays there. But it's interesting to see after Walker coming in and
Right.
others as well. Right, that's where Lewis might get subbed instead
Right.
of Walker.
Yeah, that is the risk with Lewis for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you there.
But Guardiola is a definite buy. I think he should
Yeah.
stay. Uh, the most important point for me is that I don't buy Man City defenders. Is they'll score 5 goals, but they'll definitely concede 1 goal.
But until last year, they were pretty reliable defense, right? Only after Arsenal, I think.
Yes, they did. They
But
did.
yeah, like you said, right? People would be surprised to know that Nottingham Forest was the fifth or sixth best defense in the league last year. But nobody noticed
Agreed.
because exactly like what you say, right? They were conceding 1-1 goal in every match, pretty much every match. So when you don't
True.
see the clean sheets, you don't see those points, you think that okay, this is a terrible defense, but that is not true. They were, if you go by expected goals conceded, right? They were, right up there in the top six, right? So right, just a little bit below Liverpool and Arsenal and City. So I think Brentford was fifth and these guys were sixth. So I completely get what you mean, man. With City also, it does happen sometimes that they get so
It does.
overboard, so carried away with scoring 5-6 goals that sometimes they do slip in one, and that is exactly what happened against Ipswich. So
Yeah.
in the
Right.
episode we had with Devank, right, he had shared one statistic at the start of the season where Ipswich was predicted to be the lowest goal scoring team in the entire season, and they facing Man City, and lo and behold, they score a goal, right? So FPL can be very cruel that way, but yeah, that it is how it is, right? Yeah. So I think that's that on Guardiola. I think yeah, definitely a solid hold. Haaland, let's not even bother, right? He's there every, and as you guys were saying, before this podcast when we caught up offline, that how the hell are people still buying Haaland, right? Who the hell doesn't own him at this stage? How
I
is
know.
this man going up in price? That is like physically impossible, man. I mean, what are they
When
doing? Let's.
when did people start selling him? I mean, why did people sell him and why didn't they buy him in the first place? But Haaland definitely stays
At the
there.
first place, who were these people who don't have Haaland in team?
Yeah.
Oh, no, so quite interestingly, there
There
are a
are there are
few,
people.
right? And
There are
and
people.
and it's not the casual players. In fact, if you notice, some of the really shrewd players, they have gone without Haaland, knowing that the first 4 game weeks are going to be a lot of pain. But game week 5 onwards, where your default captain is anyway going to be Salah, right? Like this week, he plays Bournemouth. That's one of his favorite fixtures at home. So it actually, and like that's what Apurv said in the last session. That's what even Devang said, right? Like if you can just about survive the Haaland captaincy, which is I know very hard to do. When he scores hat tricks 2 game weeks in a row, when he scores another brace in the next game, or narrowly misses out on a hat trick, I know it's very difficult. But if you can somehow, like say from that 15 million, right? You have a very decent 6 to 7 million striker. Like I think Chris Wood has been doing pretty well. Muniz has been very disappointing, but between Chris Wood, Jao Pedro, the Vardy of late now, right? So between these 5.56, if you have some player like that, you actually have 9 million, right? That is the difference
Very true.
between having a a Rogers or an Emil Smith Rowe or a Salah, right? The difference is that huge. 5 million and 9 million more, right? So you're almost able to afford, you're able to upgrade a 5.5 into a Salah, right? So that is tremendous. But yeah, I completely agree. It's a very big risk. And, I believe in FPL, there are just two types of players, right? People who have Ireland and who don't, because that is exactly how this season at least is turning out to be. On some level, I
Uh,
believe people are able to, cover up for Salah by having the right choice of Luis and Jota at the right time, right? I mean,
right.
that's again tough to do.
Yeah.
But there is
Uh,
no cover for Haaland, bro. There is no cover for Haaland. You don't
there's
have
no
him,
cover
you're
for
screwed.
Haaland.
Yeah,
Had it been the last season where you had Alvarez as an
exactly.
option, right? People did that in the last season. So I had Haaland and Alvarez with me
Yeah, yeah. I think
in
that was
my
the
squad.
default, right? People are going
That was
4-4-2.
yeah,
Haaland Alvarez up top.
good reward.
Forget it. Man
And
City done. Yeah.
that was a good reward.
Yes.
But this year it's definitely only Haaland that has to take up that number 9, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
where he definitely stays this year, and there's no
Exactly.
replacement for him
Yeah.
as of now.
Correct. Correct, absolutely. Yeah, so I think Haaland, I mean, it's not a debate, right? I don't think
Yeah,
anyone
no,
outside the
no
panel,
debate. We
nobody.
can move forward.
So
Yeah.
we should move on to Visa, right? Very interestingly, one of the most highest transferred in players last game week managed to score a goal. Unfortunately, got injured. So yeah, there you go.
And
You
it's a
have
flop
him
now.
there. So guys, just to clarify for the wider viewers here, by flop, we don't mean that the player is intrinsically bad, right? It basically just means a lot of people have been selling him out, and so should you, right? That's all it means. So flop doesn't mean the player is bad. Trap doesn't mean the player is bad. Raging bull doesn't
Right.
mean the player is good. Punt doesn't mean the player is good. It simply means given the circumstances, right, and the transfer in out volume. With that context in mind, because I think Visa is personally a very good striker, right? And even in the year when you had Tony, when you had Mbumo, a
Yeah.
lot of times I think Visa was the unsung hero. A lot of times giving those assists, those crunch goals. So yeah, definitely Visa is a good player. But yeah, I think the injury makes it kind of a no-brainer, right? Which now
True.
brings us on to the last two, right? Emil Smith Rowe with another goal last week, and of course we have Saka alongside him. So let's just pull up the last two together, and then discuss them, alongside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's pull
So
up.
there
Yeah.
you go. The team has put Saka as a punt and Smith Rowe as a trap, which is kind of surprising. Is it because Fulham's fixtures are going to change now? Are turning for the worse? Why is Smith Rowe a trap according to you guys?
Smith Rowe is a trap right now because I think Fulham's fixtures, yeah, that's definitely a point, right?
Almost done, I think.
If you
Almost done.
see Fulham's fixtures, they play Newcastle, they play Man City, they play Aston Villa. Um, Again, Nottingham Forest, a very good team this season, even though it's a green 2 that has been there in the difficulty rating, but it's going to cause a bit of trouble for them, um, for Smith Rowe at this moment. So that's a trap, but
Sure.
he comes in between and he does that magic for the team. His minutes is a little concerning, even though it's been somewhere around 60 and then moving up to 70 at this moment. He's giving those returns, but it's a wait and watch for Smith Rowe. Maybe another game week or so on in terms of the positioning that he has in the game, right? That's going to be very interesting to see
Sure, Pratik.
at this
I
moment.
get your point of view. And
Yeah.
personally, I would say that Smith Rowe started off with 60 because he was just easing into team. New purchase from Arsenal, so they were, and he didn't get a lot of minutes with Arsenal either, right? So I just thought they were easing him into the team, and I think his minutes should only improve with time. But yes, I think I get where you're coming from, and possibly another week for those of you who don't already have him. Might just be worthwhile to hang on. I think he has a tough match against Newcastle, so might is he against Newcastle? Let me just
I
quickly
think
check.
people are also ignoring Tarore there in terms of Smith Rowe, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I
Smith Rowe,
just checked.
but
He is.
Tarore
Yeah,
is you see the minutes and the kind of impact that he has. That's definitely good.
correct. Yeah,
Uh,
no doubt about
he
it.
he he's gonna be really a good punt for me. I think later.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I,
There's a
I
differential territory right there, right? So yeah, that's
Correct.
great. Yeah,
Correct. Yeah.
I think a differential will be also Pereira.
Andreas Pereira, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Uh,
for Fulham.
and I guess he just 4.5, right? Or I think he's also
Yeah,
5.5. But yeah, basically
and
yeah, similar price. And yeah,
that
he
guy's on free kicks and corners as well.
Yeah, and I think last year there was a period where Fulham were doing really well, and Andres Pereira was pretty much a very default 4.5 for many of us, right? Because he was giving the points, he was giving you the return. So yeah, let's see. I think interesting call there. I would have personally. Because I own Smith Rowe, I'm probably a little more biased, but definitely I understand where the panel is coming from, and I appreciate that.
But I like Fulham. But I like Fulham as a team.
Yeah,
They
they're doing
are
really well this year, right? And
they're doing well.
they are one of the dark horses for me. I think they will actually punch
Absolutely.
above their weight. They are not going to be. And if you just see the bolstering they've done to their team, right? I mean, right from the key purchases that they have made, the whole intensity with which they are going out there. I mean, they're just fun to watch. And
Yeah.
I think, and I like how they build their attack from the back, right? It's not just like
Totally.
some of the mid or lower rung teams where everything depends on midfield and the final one or two talismanic strikers, right? Here, I can actually see a very cohesive unit, the way the attack builds, the way Robinson has already contributed to a couple of assists. I think it's a very
True.
bright sign for Fulham going front. Yeah, and
Absolutely.
we then come on to Saka. Obviously, the man who gave an assist was it Tottenham. Has a tough game against City, but I completely get why you guys still think we should not be selling him because after that, Arsenal is
He
on
has
pretty acceptable fixtures, right? So
he has three good fixtures after
yeah,
Man City.
exactly. Yeah, and I think pretty much when you make a buy or sell decision, personally, it doesn't make sense to look too much beyond 3 to 4 weeks because so much changes, so many people get injured. You can't really have unless of course you're playing a wild card, right, where you expect at least for 6 weeks I'm going to be happy with my team. Yeah, doesn't
Yeah.
work for most of us though. But yeah, by and large, both of you agree that Saka is a punt, right? I mean, no real
Yeah,
doubts there.
Saka's a fun. Yeah, he definitely has to stay in there,
Yeah,
right?
you can't really kick him out. Yeah, based on
Yeah, you cannot. You cannot. He's giving in that uh, extra on the pitch, right? He's
right.
giving those assists as well.
Yeah, and in fact, last year's Classic League
See
runner-up.
now with Man City and Arsenal as well now, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
Havertz is going to be really. He's definitely getting in points this week. I feel Havertz is going to go crazy this week.
Let's see. It's
Um,
against City, but yeah, we shall find
Absolutely,
out.
no,
And yeah, yeah.
true,
So
true.
great, man. Fingers crossed for Arsenal there. And yeah, guys. So
They,
with that, I think we cover the Bulls and Bears segment as well. So once again, I'd like to thank Pranav, Prateek. Thanks so much for making it for this podcast. We did have conversations about this many weeks ago, right? When we decided to do this, and I think this is the first time that we've got, a pair of brothers on the show, and at the same time,
ah,
one of them who's playing our league for the first time this year, and and the other one who's going to join us from next year. So I
Definitely.
hope to see you next year, Pranav, in the tables. And yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Really appreciate this.
yeah, Jay.
This is as
Thank
Uh,
you,
always a
Jay,
lot
for
of
having
fun.
us.
Yeah, but thank you so
Yeah.
much for joining in.
Hey, Jay, thanks a lot for inviting, by the way, and doing amazing stuff with the Bears and Bulls. Really great concept that you have got in terms of managing the league and managing everything. But it has been great. Uh, I know there are in initial I felt that why am I playing this cash league and should I really play it and but when I actually started it and the kind of response that you had on the messages and everything, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It's fun. It actually pulls you in
Yeah,
and
no doubt.
it's amazing.
And
Not
yeah,
bad.
of course, I mean, just because this is going to be live on YouTube and a lot of public domain. So just want to clarify to everyone when we say cash league, we are talking about monopoly cash, right? जो housey monopoly में whatever play money we use. So when I say Pratik is manager of the month, I'm just going to give him a few Sodexo coupons, right? I mean, that's pretty much all this league is all about. And being an HR, he will understand just how dear Sodexo coupons can be to somebody. So yeah, just want to put that out there. And yeah, with that, I wish you guys all the best. I'm in Goa this week, so I don't know if I'll be able to watch all the
Absolutely.
matches, but yeah, I hope
Enjoy.
I'll
Don't
have
miss the
this
deadline.
podcast out there.
Don't
But yeah,
miss the
thank you so
deadline
much.
transfers when you're in Goa.
Already
That's
done,
the
bro.
only
Already
advice
done.
that I can give you.
Yeah, man. All right, guys.
Don't
This was
miss
a lot of fun. Take care, and
it.
hope to do this again with you guys sometime.